After the fall, a story of betrayal, closure, and new beginnings. I got into my car and drove away, leaving Serena sitting on the porch, clutching herself in the dim glow of the porch light. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what I'd see. Her face stricken with disbelief, guilt flooding her features, her mind spinning with panic and desperation. But I didn't care anymore. Not tonight. The truth I had uncovered weighed heavy on my chest like a cinder block. But this wasn't the time for a dramatic confrontation or some drawn-out argument. Tonight was about one thing: putting space between me and the wreckage that had become my life. It was time to begin untangling myself from Serena, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That meant leaving her in the rear view. As I drove, the cool air slipped through the cracked window, brushing against my face like a whisper of sanity. The hum of the tires on the asphalt and the soft rhythmic thudding of my heartbeat filled the silence. The road ahead was uncertain, but every mile I put behind me felt like a breath of air after being trapped underwater. When I arrived at Julian's house, the warm, welcoming glow of his porch light felt like stepping into a different world. The scent of fresh garlic bread and baked lasagna wafted through the air, grounding me in something familiar and safe. Julian and his wife, Mariana, were like family to me, true friends, the kind who didn't need explanations to know something was wrong. Julian stepped out with a dish towel slung over his shoulder and a beer in hand. His eyes squinted through the night as I pulled into the driveway. "Carter," he said, walking toward me with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes.
"Come on in, man.
Food's hot. Table's set." Mariana followed close behind, her arms crossed in a way that was both comforting and maternal. "You look like you've been through hell," she said, not unkindly. "Let's get you some food and talk later." Their hospitality wrapped around me like a blanket. Inside, the house was buzzing with warmth, the clink of dishes, the low hum of music from the radio, and the sound of comfort I hadn't realized I'd been craving. I tried to keep things light over dinner. I asked Julian about the consulting firm he was building, peppered him with questions about the team, the clients, the opportunities. He answered with his usual enthusiasm, but I knew they were both watching me closely. As the night wore on, the conversation grew thinner. I was losing the battle to keep my emotions at bay. My appetite faded. My hands shook. Mariana, ever perceptive, placed her hand on mine gently. "Carter," she said quietly, "you don't need to talk about it if you're not ready. But if you want to let it out, we're here." Her kindness undid me. I stared down at my plate, fork in hand, heart pounding like a war drum in my chest. After what felt like an eternity, I whispered, "It's Serena." Julian set his drink down slowly. "What happened?" "She's been cheating," I said, my voice hollow. "Not once. Not with one guy. With several. I found messages, videos. It wasn't an accident or a one-time mistake. It was deliberate, repeated, disgusting." Mariana gasped softly, her hand tightening around mine. Julian's jaw tightened, the warmth in his eyes quickly replaced with simmering anger. "With who?" Julian asked. I hesitated, then answered. "My boss. And his son. And apparently some of their friends too." Mariana's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God." Julian shook his head, pushing his plate away. "That is unforgivable. I have the proof. Messages. Photos. Even a video." I stared off past them, as if trying to convince myself it was all real. Seeing it broke something in me. Something I don't think will ever come back. There was a long silence. "You're not alone, Carter," Julian said. "You have a place on my team, starting tomorrow. We'll get you out of that toxic job. And if you need a lawyer or someone to talk to, I'll make the calls." Mariana nodded. "You'll get through this. I promise. And we'll be here every step of the way." Their words steadied me. They didn't fix everything, but they gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks: hope. When I got back home later that night, the house was quiet. Serena had gone to bed. I stood in the living room, staring at the framed photos of us on the wall. Smiling vacations. Birthday celebrations.
Lies.
Every image felt like a punch to the chest. I lay down on the futon, unable to even step into our bedroom. I stared at the ceiling, thoughts spinning, and waited for the sun to rise. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen with a folder in hand. She was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee, eyes puffy, face pale. I dropped the folder on the table. Inside were printed messages, screenshots, timestamps, and the flash drive. She looked down, and her hands trembled. "Carter, these?" I said, my voice cold. "You think I wouldn't find out? Brad? His son? Random strangers? Was it just about attention, Serena? Or did you want to destroy me?" She broke. Her shoulders heaved. "I don't know how it got so far. It started with Brad, but then I was afraid to stop. I felt ashamed. Trapped. Trapped." I scoffed. "You weren't trapped. You had choices, Serena. You made them. Over and over. You betrayed me. And now you want pity? I didn't know how to face you," she sobbed. "I still love you, Carter." I slammed my hand on the table, making her jump. Don't you dare say that word. You don't love me. You don't do this to someone you love." She went quiet, her tears her only answer. "This is over," I said. "I'll be filing for divorce today. I want you gone before the papers arrive. You wanted Brad and his circus? You're free to go live in it." She nodded slowly. "I'll leave tomorrow." "The sooner the better," I said, walking out and leaving her behind with the wreckage she created. In the weeks that followed, things moved quickly. I left my old job, cut all ties with that world, and started a new chapter with Julian's team at Empire Solutions. The work was intense, but fulfilling. Mariana helped connect me to a therapist, and I started attending weekly sessions that cracked open a part of me I thought had shut down forever. I picked up martial arts, got back into hiking, rediscovered music. I started reclaiming parts of myself that had been buried under years of routine and quiet resentment. Then there was Elise. She was part of our HR department. Smart, quick-witted, kind in a way that felt sincere, not performative. We started with coffee breaks, then team lunches, a drink after work. Nothing heavy, no expectations. One evening, after staying late to finish a report, she leaned over my cubicle and said, "Want to grab some Thai food? I could use company that isn't a spreadsheet." I hesitated, then smiled.
Yeah.
"I'd like that." We talked, laughed, even shared our worst date stories. It felt easy. Not perfect, but real. She never asked about Serena, never probed. She just treated me like a man worth knowing. And for the first time in a long time, I believed that maybe I was. Months later, I stood at a quiet memorial. Serena had spiraled after the divorce. The scandal with Brad became public. Careers collapsed. Reputations shattered. One of the men involved had taken his own life. Serena, too, had fallen deeper into guilt and isolation until an overdose ended her story. As I stared at her name etched in stone, I felt no rage, no vengeance, only closure. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't for her. It was for me. I turned away from the grave and walked back to my car where Elise waited, reading a book. She smiled as I approached. "You okay?" she asked gently. I nodded.
Yeah.
For the first time, I think I am. And just like that, I closed the door on my past. Not with anger, but with peace.